The air in Sterling Capital's glass-walled conference room was thick with unspoken tension as the new interns filed in. Among them was Naomi Patel, her crisp thrift store blazer, a stark contrast to the designer labels around her. Senior VP Carter Reynolds didn't even glance up from his phone as he slid the orientation packet across the polished table, his tone dripping with condescension. "Let's see if you can keep up," he said, his eyes flicking over her last name. The other interns, preppy, polished, and overwhelmingly from Ivy League schools, exchanged knowing smirks. Then came the accident. Carter's caramel macchiato slipped cascading toward Naomi's shoes. "Clumsy me," he drawled, though his smirk said otherwise. The room held its breath as Naomi calmly blotted the spill with her sleeve, revealing a glimpse of the platinum Mastercard tucked in her notebook. The real show began when Carter assigned roles. "Olivia, you'll join the hedge fund team. Jake, private equity." His pause at Naomi was theatrical. "You'll handle the break room. Try not to burn the coffee." A snicker rippled through the group, especially from Olivia, who was already live-streaming the moment to her followers. "POV diversity hire meets reality," she whispered. But Naomi just scribbled in her notebook, every dig, every timestamp, her penmanship flawless, the kind honed at a Geneva academy. When Carter quipped, "Patel like the yogurt brand," Naomi turned at the door, her voice cool. "Actually, it means guardian in Sanskrit. Fitting, don't you think?" The silence that followed was louder than any laugh. By lunch, the office buzzed with whispers. Naomi's calm unnerved them. Then came the twist. During a mock client pitch, Carter's golden boy Jake froze mid-presentation. Numbers scrambled, sweat beading. Naomi, who'd been silently observing, stepped forward. What followed was a masterclass in market analysis, delivered with such precision that even Carter's jaw tightened. The client, a Fortune 500 CEO, leaned in. "Where'd you find this one?" he asked, ignoring Carter entirely. As the meeting adjourned, Olivia's phone buzzed. Her live stream was now flooded with comments. "Who's the diversity hire now?" Naomi tucked her notebook away, the ghost of a smile playing on her lips. The clock ticked toward the board meeting. The game had just begun. The coffee orders were a minefield, 12 in total, each more absurd than the last. Carter's was marked in bold, triple ristretto almond milk, 135 degrees, not a degree more or less. Naomi's fingers tightened around the list as her phone buzzed. A notification from Blackstone Equity Partners flashed. Her internship there last summer had earned her a standing offer. Another text followed. "Your 6 p.m. presentation deck is ready. Should we reserve the boardroom?" She swiped both away just as the barista called her name. Back on the 60th floor, she delivered the drinks with robotic precision. Carter's office door was ajar, his voice barking into a call. "We can't keep lowering standards just for optics." Naomi froze mid-step, catching fragments of the conversation. "Quotas, unqualified hires, board pressure." His computer screen glowed with an open email chain titled "Diversity Initiative Backlash." She memorized every name, every timestamp before placing his coffee down. "Finally," he snapped without looking up. "Now get out. Some of us have actual work." The copy room was her next purgatory, a fluorescent-lit closet reeking of toner and quiet desperation. Employees passed by, some whispering behind hands, others outright staring. Then came Mr. Delgado, the janitor who'd worked there since the dot-com boom. He watched Naomi reorganize the chaotic filing system with military efficiency. "You're too smart for this place, Misha," he muttered, wiping his hands on his faded uniform. "Seen 'em come and go. You're the first who doesn't belong in the shadows." Olivia chose that moment to waltz in, phone aloft, her live stream audience now topping 3,000. "Aw, look, she's playing secretary." The comments scrolled like a hateful ticker tape. "This is cringe. Why's she even here?" Naomi kept sorting her movements deliberate. "My followers think you'd make a great barista," Olivia sneered. "Or maybe a real intern job like folding laundry." Mr. Delgado stepped between them, his voice a low growl. "Kid's got more class in her pinky than you've got in your whole bloodline." Olivia's smirk faltered as the livestream chat erupted with "Oh," and "janitor for CEO." Then the twist. The CFO's assistant burst in frantic. "The Mercer deal files, where are they?" Olivia blanched. She'd been tasked with organizing them last week. Naomi wordlessly pulled a perfectly tabbed binder from the shelf. "Right here. Cross-referenced with their last 3 quarters liabilities." The assistant gaped. "Who the hell are you?" As Olivia's live stream abruptly cut off, Naomi allowed herself a small, sharp smile. The clock ticked toward 6 p.m. The boardroom awaited, and Carter's diversity problem was about to become his worst nightmare. Naomi sat alone in the corporate cafeteria, her turkey sandwich untouched as she reviewed her notes. Around her, clusters of employees whispered behind their hands, their stares like lasers burning into her back. Carter's voice boomed from the power table where he held court with senior managers. "Let's be honest, this diversity push is killing meritocracy," he declared, swirling his craft beer. "I mean, would we be forced to hire someone like her if not for the board's quotas?" The table erupted in laughter, all except for VP Lisa Park, whose grip on her fork tightened just slightly. Naomi's pen moved silently across her notebook. "Carter Reynolds, 1:07 p.m. witness." Lisa Park, uncomfortable but complicit. Her phone buzzed with a new message board moved to 6 p.m. private elevator or main. She typed one-handed main. Cover intact. Across the room, Olivia's live stream was in full swing, her phone propped against a soda can. The chat scrolled with venom. "Watch the diversity hire chew like a cow lol," and 20 says she cries before 3 p.m. But in the far corner, Security Chief Marcus Carter, a former Marine with a sharp eye, studied Naomi. There was something about her posture, the way she held her shoulders, like someone used to command, not ridicule. His radio crackled. "Everything good, boss?" his deputy asked. Marcus didn't blink. "Just observing." Then came Carter's grand spectacle. He herded 24 employees into the glass-walled conference room for what he called a pop quiz for our special intern. Olivia gleefully angled her phone, now boasting 5,000 viewers. "Naomi, sweetheart," Carter purred, "let's start simple. What's liquidity preference theory?" The room tittered. Naomi set down her pen. "The tendency of investors to prefer short-term securities over long-term ones due to uncertainty. First proposed by Keynes in 1937. Dead silence. Carter's eye twitched. "Fine. Define Jensen's alpha." "Risk-adjusted performance metric measuring excess return relative to a benchmark," named after Michael Jensen's 1968 paper. A junior analyst in the back whispered, "Holy shit." Even Olivia's live stream chat stalled momentarily before exploding with "She's a plant" and "Carter's getting cooked." Then the twist. The fire alarm blared. As employees evacuated, Marcus discreetly pulled Naomi aside. "You're not who they think you are," he said lowly. Naomi met his gaze. "And you're sharper than most here, Chief Carter." His eyes widened. She knew his rank. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed again. "Board is early. They're asking for you." As the crowd shuffled back inside, Carter's face was thunderous. But Naomi was already striding toward the elevators, her notebook clutched like a weapon. The clock read 2:30 p.m. 3.5 hours until the board meeting and Carter's reckoning. Naomi didn't just explain the cash flow statement, she dismantled it. Every figure, every trend, every hidden implication laid bare in razor-sharp analysis. The room, which had been a circus moments earlier, fell deathly quiet. Even Olivia's livestream chat, once a torrent of mockery, now flooded with comments like "she's a spy" and "Carter's about to get fired on stream." Carter's face twisted. "Textbook answers don't impress me," he spat. "This business requires pedigree, instinct, things your kind just don't have." The word kind dripped with venom. A junior analyst dropped their coffee. Olivia's phone caught it all, the gasps, the way VP Lisa Park stood abruptly, her chair screeching. "That's enough, Carter," Lisa said, her voice icy. For the first time, cracks appeared in the company's complicity. But Carter wasn't done. He stormed to his office, dragging Sarah Chen and Michael Torres with him. Through the cracked door, Naomi heard the plan unfold. "Plant a security violation," Torres suggested. "Say she accessed restricted files. HR will can her before the board meeting." Carter's grin was vicious. "Make it stick. I want her gone by 5. Then came the text from an unknown number. "Break room now. Marcus." Naomi found the security chief waiting, his expression grave. "I know who you are," he said, sliding a file across the table. Inside were photos Naomi 3 months prior walking the building with Washington Holdings' CEO. "You weren't just touring. You were auditing." Naomi didn't deny it. "And you're not just security, you're ex-FBI. Marcus stiffened. "How?" "Your stance. Your watch issue specific to federal ops." She leaned in. "Help me and I'll make sure your whistleblowing on Carter's embezzlement doesn't end your career." Marcus exhaled. "What do you need?" "Distract Carter at 5:45 and keep Olivia's live stream running." As Naomi left, her phone buzzed again. The board was assembling early. Down the hall, Carter's voice carried, "Where's that intern finder?" The clock ticked to 3:17 p.m. 2 hours and 43 minutes until the reckoning. The live stream had become a wildfire, 8,000 viewers and climbing clips spreading across Twitter with corporate bullying and prestige exposed. But Carter wasn't retreating. He was doubling down. Naomi watched from the doorway as he barked orders into his phone. "Get HR on the line. I want her terminated before the board convenes." Marcus intercepted her in the hall, his voice a hushed urgency. "They're fabricating a security violation, claiming you accessed restricted files. HR's already drafting the paperwork." Naomi's fingers tightened around her phone. "How long?" 4 p.m. They're fast-tracking it." She didn't flinch. "Get me the CCTV footage. Every angle of Carter today, especially his office." Marcus hesitated. "That's a fireable offense." Naomi met his gaze. "So is embezzlement, but he's still here." A beat. Then Marcus nodded. By 3:45 p.m., the office was a pressure cooker. Olivia's live stream had been forcibly shut down by corporate, but not before it racked up 20K shares. HR Director Patricia Hayes sprinted past her heels, clicking like a countdown. Then came Carter's emergency meeting. The interns filed in Brad's hands, shaking, Olivia still covertly recording. Carter's voice was a blade. "Naomi Patel, you're accused of breaching security protocols and creating a hostile work environment." The room went still. Brad, the quiet intern from Chicago, shocked everyone by slamming his fist on the table. "That's bullshit. She's the only one here actually working." Carter's face purpled, but outside the glass walls, employees were gathering, many holding up phones, recording him now. The predator had become the prey. Then a new voice cut through the tension. "Interesting definition of hostile." Every head turned. Lisa Park stood in the doorway holding a tablet. On it, CCTV footage of Carter shredding documents labeled "Board Audit." "Funny," Lisa said. "I thought that was a security violation." Naomi's phone buzzed. A single word from Marcus: "Elevators ready." The clock struck 4 p.m. 2 hours until the board meeting. 1 hour until Carter's empire crumbled. The air in the conference room turned electric as Naomi rose from her seat. Every eye followed her as she moved toward Carter's abandoned laptop, her steps measured, deliberate. "What the hell are you doing?" Carter barked, his voice fraying at the edges. That's company property. Correction. Naomi said, her fingers already flying across the keyboard. It's evidence. The projector screen lit up with Carter's open email. The first thread appeared. March 15th, Carter Reynolds to Sarah Chen. Another diversity hire disaster. These people don't have the pedigree for this work. Board's forcing us to lower standards. A collective gasp rippled through the room. Sarah Chen's face drained of color. Naomi kept scrolling. April 5th, Carter Reynolds to Michael Torres. Make sure Patel fails her intern evaluation. We can't have HR thinking this affirmative action crap works. Brad, the intern who'd defended her earlier, stood so fast his chair toppled. Holy shit. Olivia's phone, still recording, trembled in her hands. The feed was now being live-streamed by someone else, Marcus from the security office, blowing up across LinkedIn with the hashtag #execexposed. Then came the knockout punch. May 22nd, Carter Reynolds to the hiring committee. Reject Kim Park's application. Park sounds too ethnic for our clientele. Suggest we go with Anderson instead. The room erupted. Junior analysts, secretaries, even the janitorial staff crowding the doorway burst into outraged chatter. Lisa Park stormed forward, snatching the tablet from Naomi's hands. You son of a bitch, she hissed at Carter. Kim Park is my sister. Carter's mouth opened, but no words came out. Naomi's phone buzzed. A text from the board chairman. We've seen enough. Private elevator now. As she turned to leave, Carter lunged, but Marcus blocked him, his security badge gleaming. Sit down, Mr. Reynolds. The board wants a word. The clock struck 4:30 p.m. 90 minutes until the vote. 0 minutes until Carter's career imploded. Outside, the New York skyline glittered indifferent. But inside Prestige Financial, a revolution had just begun. The room froze as Derek's emails, months of calculated discrimination, glowed on the screen for all to see. His face twisted in panic as he lunged for the laptop, but Naomi was already 3 steps ahead. Stop right there, Mr. Reynolds, she said, her voice no longer that of an intern but of someone used to command. Those emails aren't just unethical, they're illegal. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act voids any privacy claims when discrimination is documented on company servers. Carter's mouth opened, but before he could speak, Naomi pulled out her phone and dialed. Hey, James, she said, the speakerphone amplifying the response. Yes, Ms. Patel, the board is assembled and waiting. Should we begin termination proceedings? A wave of murmurs crashed through the room. Patel, as in Naomi Patel, the youngest board member of Blackstone Equity Partners, Prestige Financial's majority stakeholder. With deliberate calm, Naomi unbuttoned her thrift store blazer, revealing a custom Veronica Beard suit beneath. From her portfolio, she withdrew a platinum access badge bearing the Blackstone logo and her title, VP of Equity and Inclusion. Our annual Undercover audit is complete, she announced, her gaze sweeping the room. And Prestige Financial has failed spectacularly. Olivia's phone hit the ground with a crack. Brad, the intern who defended her, let out a stunned laugh. Oh my God. Carter looked like he might vomit. You can't. I can, Naomi corrected. And I will. She turned to Marcus, who stood at the door with 2 armed security guards. Escort Mr. Reynolds to the boardroom. His services are no longer required. As Carter was led away, sputtering protests, the crowd erupted not in outrage, but in applause. Junior analysts cheered. The janitorial staff, who'd endured years of slights, clapped the loudest. Naomi's phone buzzed. A message from the CEO. Well done. The board is unanimous. Effective immediately, your interim CEO of Prestige Financial. She allowed herself one small, satisfied smile. The clock struck 5 p.m. Derek Williams' career was over, and Naomi Patel's revolution had just begun. The live-stream viewership exploded past 20,000 as Naomi addressed the stunned crowd, her voice carrying the weight of undeniable authority. Over the past 2 years, she said, tapping her tablet to display damning metrics, Blackstone has tracked 41 internal complaints about discrimination at Prestige Financial, 87% of which were dismissed without investigation. The screen updated to show exit interview data. 79% of minority employees cited hostile work environments as their reason for leaving. She picked up Olivia's fallen phone, scrolling through the flood of comments. Corporate reckoning was now trending nationally. "Your actions today, Mr. Reynolds, weren't just witnessed by this room," Naomi said coldly. "They've been broadcast to the world, creating irreparable brand damage and exposing the company to class action litigation." Carter's hands trembled as he gripped the conference table. This is entrapment." "Actually," Naomi countered, pulling up legal statutes on the screen, "undercover equity audits are protected under Dodd-Frank whistleblower provisions." "What's illegal?" She zoomed in on his emails. "Systematic violation of EEOC guidelines, with each offense carrying penalties up to $500. Sarah Chen, now sweating through her blouse, tried damage control. "Naomi, if we'd known you were—" "That's precisely the problem," Naomi interrupted. "Basic human decency shouldn't require a title." She turned to the janitor, Mr. Delgado, who stood frozen in the doorway. "You recognized real leadership this morning when no one else did." Patricia Hayes rushed in with termination papers, then froze when she saw Naomi commanding the room. "Ah, Patricia," Naomi said smoothly. "Redo those for Mr. Reynolds. Include clauses for clawback of bonuses and non-compete nullification." The room erupted when security arrived, not for Naomi, but to escort Carter out. As they led him away, Naomi dropped the final bomb. "Effective immediately, Prestige Financial will undergo full restructuring. All promotions from the past 18 months are frozen pending review." She turned to Olivia, whose face had gone ashen. "As for you, your live stream provided invaluable documentation. HR will contact you about alternative career paths." The clock struck 6 p.m. In 12 hours, Naomi Patel had gone from diversity hire to CEO-elect, and corporate America would never be the same. Naomi gestured to Mr. Delgado, the janitor who'd shown her kindness earlier. "Please join us," she said, motioning to Carter's now vacant chair. The symbolism wasn't lost on anyone, as the maintenance worker, usually invisible to executives, took the seat of power. "Mr. Delgado has worked these floors for 18 years, Naomi announced. "He's witnessed every whispered slur, every accidental coffee spill, every time someone was passed over for promotion because of their last name." She turned to Carter, now flanked by security. "Your arrogance made you blind to the people who see everything." Olivia, once so smug behind her phone, was now sobbing. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was just a joke." Naomi's voice turned icy. "Bullying isn't comedy, Ms. Walsh. You auctioned someone's dignity for likes." She leaned in. "Tell me, would it have been funnier if I'd actually cried?" The room fell silent as Naomi pulled up a final slide. "Blackstone Equity Partners versus Prestige Financial. Emergency restructuring plan. Effective immediately," she declared. "Every promotion, hiring decision, and termination from the past 2 years will be audited." "Mr. Delgado." She handed him a tablet. "You'll lead the employee testimony initiative, starting with your observations about who truly deserves advancement." Carter made a strangled noise. "You can't." "I already have." Naomi nodded to Marcus, who played the knockout punch CCTV footage of Carter shredding audit documents earlier that day, a federal offense. As security led him away, Naomi addressed the shell-shocked interns. "Look around. This is what happens when decency gets mistaken for weakness." She removed her intern badge. "And this," she replaced it with her CEO access card, "is what happens when the system finally fights back." The clock struck 6:30 p.m. The live stream ended. The reckoning began. The boardroom doors swung open as Naomi entered her charcoal Valentino suit, replacing the intern's thrift store blazer. The air crackled with tension as 12 executives, including Blackstone's general counsel and the SEC's former head of compliance, snapped to attention. "And thank you for convening on zero notice," Naomi said, taking her seat at the head of the 30-foot mahogany table. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan glittered like a conquered kingdom. Marcus projected the kill shot onto the screen, Carter's emails, the livestream footage, and most damning, a side-by-side comparison of Prestige's diversity reports versus actual hiring data. "Legal exposure," the CFO's voice wavered. Naomi tapped her tablet. $12.8 million in EEOC fines, $25-40 million in shareholder lawsuits once this hits the WSJ tomorrow. She paused. "That's before we discuss the 3 undisclosed harassment settlements Carter buried last quarter." A collective inhale. The board had been played. Then the twist. Naomi slid a file to the trembling HR director. "You'll notice, page 17, Carter wasn't acting alone." Security footage showed Sarah Chen high-fiving him after rejecting a black candidate for culture fit. "Effective immediately," Naomi continued. "We're implementing the Blackstone Equity Protocol mandatory bias training promotion freezes for all managers implicated and," she nodded to Mr. Delgado, now seated beside the CFO, "a new employee oversight committee chaired by non-management staff." As the votes were tallied, Carter's lawyer burst in, sputtering about defamation. Naomi didn't blink. "Your client shredded federal audit documents. That's obstruction." She turned to the board. "Motion to terminate with cause." The ayes were unanimous. At 7:01 p.m., as Carter was escorted from the building by federal agents, Naomi received 2 texts. "Bloomberg Blackstone takes control of Prestige Financial." And from her father, the CEO, "Proud of you. Now fix the rest." The clock struck midnight. The intern was now the architect, and Wall Street would never look the same. The boardroom screens lit up with financial carnage, $15.1 million in annual losses, a 3.2% stock plunge, and Prestige's once sterling reputation now burning across social media. Naomi let the numbers sink in before delivering the final blow. "To put this in perspective, mon bonhomme," she said, zooming in on a graph, "Carter's bigotry cost this company more than its entire tech infrastructure budget last year." CFO Michael Rodriguez looked ill. "How did we not see this?" "Because discrimination wears a suit and speaks in spreadsheets," Naomi countered. She pulled up personnel data, minority turnover at 78% and Carter's division promotion rates for women of color at 4%. He didn't just break the law, he prophetized racism. Then came the reckoning. Security ushered in Carter, now sweating through his $3,000 Tom Ford suit. Behind him trailed his accomplices, Sarah Chen clutching a shredded tissue, Olivia Walsh hyperventilating, and HR Director Patricia Hayes avoiding eye contact. "This is entrapment," Carter spat. Naomi didn't flinch. She tapped her tablet, playing the CCTV footage in brutal HD. 9 to 17 M. Carter accidentally spilling coffee on her shoes, his smirk crystal clear. 2:45 p.m. His sneer as he told the interns, "Some people don't have the breeding for this work." 4:03 p.m. The smoking gun, Carter shredding diversity audit documents while whispering, "Cover our asses." General Counsel Patricia Wu's pen froze mid-note. "That's federal obstruction." "Correct," Naomi said, "which is why the DOJ just opened an investigation." She turned to the board. "Motion to terminate all implicated leadership with zero severance and refer evidence to prosecutors." "Dadim." The ayes came like gunshots. As security led Carter away, he made one last gasp. "You'll regret this." Naomi's smile was razor-thin. "No, Mr. Reynolds, you will." The clock struck 8 p.m. A Fortune 500 company had just been dismantled, and the woman they'd called Coffee Girl now held the gavel. Outside, the New York skyline blazed, a kingdom reshaped one truth at a time. The boardroom screens flickered to life with one final exhibit, Olivia Walsh's live stream, now archived as Exhibit A in what would become a landmark HR case. The footage showed every wince, every microaggression, every choked-back tear, all broadcast to 15,000 viewers who'd watched corporate cruelty in real time. Olivia collapsed into hysterics. "It was just a joke, I didn't know." Naomi didn't raise her voice. "Ms. Walsh, when exactly does just joking become complicity?" She pulled up the live stream's comment feed. Fire her already. Diversity hires are pathetic. Then turned to the board. This wasn't humor. It was hate monetized. Carter, now stripped of his security badge, tried one last bluff. You're blowing office banter out of proportion, Naomi responded with cold precision. Banter doesn't cost $847,000 in turnover. Banter doesn't trigger DOJ investigations. She cued the exit interviews. The Kesha Johnson, Ivy League grad, crying as she described being called the diversity hire in every meeting. Carlos Martinez, top performer, pushed out after Carter lost his promotion paperwork 3 times. Ahmad Hassan, who'd recorded Carter saying Muslims can't be trusted with client accounts. The board chairman's knuckles whitened around his pen. Recommendations. Naomi's gavel fell. Carter Reynolds terminated for cause. No severance. Referred to prosecutors for obstruction. Olivia Walsh, expulsion from the internship program, permanent notation in her academic record. Sarah Chen, demoted 2 ranks, salary clawed back to entry level. HR Director Hayes reassigned to document shredding, literally. Then came the coup de grace. Effective immediately, Naomi announced, Blackstone will withhold all bonuses until every employee completes mandatory bias training, starting with this board. Carter lunged forward. You're ruining my life over nothing. Naomi didn't blink. No, Mr. Reynolds. You did that yourself when you mistook power for immunity. As security dragged him out, the CFO whispered, My God, you just dismantled an empire in one day. Naomi slid her CEO badge into her pocket. No, she corrected. I built a better one. The clock struck midnight. The interns became the architects, and Wall Street would never be the same. 3 months later, the elevator doors opened to a transformed Prestige Financial. Gone were the hushed whispers and sidelong glances, in their place a buzzing energy of collaboration. Naomi Patel walked through the same halls where she'd once been treated as invisible, now greeted by name at every turn. Brad Patterson, the intern who'd risked his position to defend her, now sat in a corner office. Miss Patel, he called out, grinning. Just closed my first solo deal, $2.4 million. You make it 5 next quarter. Naomi shot back, tossing him a stress ball from the new company store where proceeds funded minority scholarships in Mr. Delgado's name. The metrics told the real story. Productivity up 27%, minority retention at 100%. Client satisfaction scores breaking records. Even the office layout had changed. Glass walls replaced opaque ones. The power table in the cafeteria was gone. And in Carter's old office, a plaque honoring Kesha Johnson, the analyst he'd driven out, now framed beside her Harvard MBA. Marcus met her at the conference room where a CNN crew was setting up. Documentaries called The Intern Who Changed Wall Street, he muttered. You okay with that? Naomi adjusted her lapel pin, a small, defiant equal sign. As long as they show the receipts. As the cameras rolled, she didn't talk about revenge. She talked about repair, about how Mr. Delgado's janitorial team now had stock options. How Sarah Chen, after completing bias training, had uncovered 3 more hidden discrimination cases. And when the reporter asked, "What's next?" Naomi smiled at the interns watching from the doorway, a new class more diverse than any in Prestige's history. Now she said, "We do it again, bigger." The clock struck noon. The revolution wasn't over. It had just gone viral. The CNN camera lights blazed as Naomi settled into the interview chair. The reporter leaned in. Critics call your undercover operation entrapment. How do you respond? Naomi didn't blink. Truth isn't entrapment. The only trap was their belief that power made them untouchable. She pulled up real-time metrics on the screen behind her. 47 bias incidents reported, 47 investigated, 47 resolved, all through the encrypted system employees now called The Guardian. And the AI language monitors, the reporter pressed. Not Big Brother, Naomi corrected. A mirror. She showed examples a manager's urban candidates aren't culture fits flagged and replaced with, "Let's discuss skills-based evaluation." The system wasn't punitive, it was pedagogical, turning moments of bias into teachable seconds. What about Carter Reynolds? Naomi kept her tone neutral. Accountability has consequences. The unspoken truth glared from his LinkedIn, a once powerful VP now reduced to seeking opportunities after 78 rejections. Meanwhile, Olivia Walsh's public apology video, "How My Privilege Hurt Others," had ironically gone viral as a diversity training tool. Then came the question that made her eyes soften. The Delgado Initiative. "Mr. Delgado reviews every application," Naomi said, pulling up footage of the janitor, now director of workplace equity, handing a scholarship to a first-gen college student. "He spots resilience others miss." The fund had sparked a wildfire. Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan had launched parallel programs totaling $14 million in pledged support. As the interview wrapped, the reporter asked the inevitable, "What's next?" Naomi stood adjusting the equal sign pin that had become her signature. "Scaling this. Every boardroom, every industry." She nodded to the interns watching Black, Latina, LGBTQ+, their eyes alight with possibility. Because today's coffee runner might just be tomorrow's CEO. The cameras stopped rolling. The movement kept growing. And somewhere in a half-empty apartment, Carter Reynolds stared at his silent phone, finally understanding the cost of cruelty. The clock struck 1 p.m. Justice wasn't done. It was just getting started. The CNN lights dimmed, but the real illumination came from the office outside, teams of every background debating ideas at whiteboards, laughing over coffee. Their collaboration effortless. Naomi turned back to the reporter's final question. "What's your advice for leaders?" "Don't wait for the live stream," she said, tapping the equal sign on her lapel. "The cost of prevention is always less than the price of repair." She gestured to the emails flooding her screen, 1243 messages from employees at Boeing, Tesla, even the NFL, all with the same plea: "How do we do this here? Do this." One note made her pause. Kesha Johnson's update: "Promoted to VP at Goldman. Your fight was my lifeline." A year later, the Patel Protocol had rewritten corporate playbooks. 43. Fortune 500 companies using undercover equity audits, 28 dollars in minority scholarships funded industry-wide, 19% higher productivity in reformed workplaces. Carter Reynolds' LinkedIn still screamed open to work after 200-plus rejections. Olivia Walsh, however, had become an unlikely advocate, her TED Talk, From Bully to Ally, racking up 2 million views. As Naomi left that night, a new intern, a hijab-wearing sophomore from CUNY, stopped her. "Ms. Patel, I got here because of the Delgado Fund. What should I learn first?" Naomi handed her the stress ball from her pocket. "How to throw elbows politely." The elevator doors closed on their laughter. Some revolutions start with banners. Hers started with a coffee spill, and it was just getting warmed up. The revolution had unexpected heroes. Mr. Delgado, once invisible in his janitor's uniform, now sat on the cover of Fast Company beside the headline, "The Custodian Who Cleaned Up Wall Street." His scholarship fund had placed 43 students from the Bronx into Goldman Sachs, including his own granddaughter. Olivia Walsh's redemption arc became its own phenomenon. Her nonprofit, the Second Chance Initiative, had retrained 600-plus corporate bullies using her viral shame as curriculum. "I teach what I needed to learn," she told the New York Times, her old live stream playing on loop behind her. Naomi's TED Talk. The power of strategic humiliation had spawned a movement. Across America, interns now carried Patel kits, hidden recorders disguised as pens, bias incident logbooks, and yes, spill-proof coffee mugs. But the real change lived in quieter moments. A VP pausing mid-sentence to rephrase aggressive to assertive when describing a black analyst. HR teams running Delgado drills, spot checks where maintenance staff evaluated department cultures. The new hire who asked Naomi to sign her copy of the Washington Method textbook now required at Wharton. As she scrolled through the My Patel Moment hashtag, thousands of stories from nurses, teachers, even NFL players, Naomi finally allowed herself to exhale. The fight wasn't over, but the tide had turned. Your turn ever been called too emotional when passionate seen a qualified colleague labeled not leadership material? Watched racism wear a suit and call itself high standards? Drop your story below. Names changed, truth intact. Because the next revolution won't be televised, it'll be live streamed. The revolution lives in the pause before you speak, that heartbeat when fear and courage collide. Maybe it's the meeting where they call your idea too aggressive, or the elevator where a colleague jokes about your natural hair. This is your mic drop moment. That comment you almost deleted, post it. The incident report you nearly trashed, file it. The truth they told you to swallow, choke them with it. Because the next Maya isn't some corporate princess, she's you with your Starbucks order and student loans and notes app full of receipts.